Okay, g'day guys, welcome to Owner Drive. Today we'll be reviewing my car. So Marius will be asking me some questions. So at Owner Drive we're most interested to hear from owners and their experiences with their car, because we think they're the best people to speak to about cars we're interested in buying. So I'll hand over to Marius and he will quiz me on the car behind us, which is Toyota Granvia, which we purchased about a year ago.
So I'm Marius, I'm kind of the producer here, but today I have to be in front of the camera, so we'll see how we go. So Jono, your car, Toyota Granvia, you said you've had it for a year. How long have you been driving? How far have you driven?
We've done 10,000 kilometres now, so yeah, just under a year. We bought it in April last year.
Okay, and when you purchased it, was it from a dealer or privately? Or?
Yeah, we bought it from a local Toyota dealer on Brisbane South Side. Brand new at the time, so it was a 2019 plate model and it was 2020, so we saved a bit of money that way. Not
bad. And when you were going out to look at cars, was that the one that you went to look for only, or did you check other cars as well?
Yeah, no, we looked at a few. So there's the people mover segment, there's a few popular choices in there that we looked at. So the Kia Carnival would be the most popular. So we certainly took one of those for a drive. And it's a good car. I think that the thing that held us back the most was that the seats aren't all full size. So there's the one in the centre middle row, which is a bit smaller, and then the ones in the back are smaller still. And they're fine for our kids now, but as they get older and we're looking for a long-term car, if they're growing to 6-foot teenagers like me, it's going to be a bit tight for them in the back.
And going for a people mover, how many kids do you have?
Four boys, so 8 and under. We did look at a couple of others too. The Hyundai iMAX was one, big on space, but safety wasn't an afterthought with that one really. It was only, well, it was 4 stars, but then the rear passengers didn't have any safety equipment at all, so it was really just focused on the front. And then the Mercedes V250, which was a second-hand car, and we did take it for a drive. Did like it, had good seating, good sized boot. So in terms of how practical it was a good car, but we're just a bit unsure about Mercedes and ongoing costs, and the fact that it only had 1 year warranty left because it was a second-hand car. So ultimately we went with the Toyota Granvia. And
just speaking of warranty, how long is the warranty on that one?
5 years on the Toyota, which I think is pretty standard for them, and unlimited kilometres.
Not bad.
Yeah. In terms of styling, I don't think it was really a winner for either of us. It's a big box on wheels. It's not going to win any beauty contests, but I think it's grown on us. And in terms of space, a rectangular box is going to give you the most space. So that's what we were after, really. I would say, a couple of its rivals, the Carnival and the Mercedes, were probably better looking cars, but we went with this one in the end. So it is a big car. It's bigger than anything else we really looked at. It's about 5.3 metres long. So it can get a bit tricky in the car park sometimes with the smaller car spaces. So, it's quite easy to manoeuvre in them because there's all these driver aids that it's got these days. But you can't physically fit in some spaces. Your back kind of sticks out a little bit. In terms of the wheels, I think they're a bit underdone. For the size of the car, I think they're 17s. Yeah, 17. So it could be a little bit bigger. And they're light truck tyres on here because it's it's quite a heavy car, 2.5 tons.
The model or the variant of the car that you got, is that the top of the line or sort of down the middle?
Oh yeah, so there's 2 choices. There's the Granvia, I think it's the standard, I don't know if they call it anything, just Granvia, and then the Granvia VX, which is the one we have here. We would have been happy with the base model. The thing we were after most with the young kids was having the electric sliding doors, and it wasn't an option on the standard model. They made you go up to the VX to get that as a thing. So that kind of swayed our decision a little bit, along with being able to bargain them down a little bit on a 2019 plate that they had sitting around for a little while. So we ultimately went with the VX. So I will mention that it is a tall car as well. So it's 1.99 metres, I believe. So you can just squeeze under, car parks that are sitting at 2 metres, but anything above that, it will hit the top. So it is quite a tall car. It makes washing it very difficult as well.
Right.
Because I can't actually reach the centre and the top there. So I do have to get the ladder out, which is a bit of a pain as well. In terms of the boot, so when all 8 seats are in play, you don't get a lot of boot space. This sort of comes back so someone else can sit in it, and then that pretty much removes the boot space that you have. So that's probably one of the main shortcomings of the layout it's got in here. And I have physically removed one of the seats in here. So I've undone the bolts and taken it off to give us, a decent boot space. So I've cut down the passenger numbers to 7, and then we've got some usable space in there. And of course, we're a family of 6, so we can make do with that. And I can always pop it back on if we need that extra seat. I had to leave the rails in there that slide along. You can remove them, but it's a fair bit more work. You've got to pull up some of the interior carpet and that sort of thing. So it makes it a lot easier to pop the seat back in there if I need to, if I leave those slides in there.
And how about making more space? Can you push all the seats up?
Yeah, so they all do slide forwards and back, so you can adjust the space relative to what you need on the day, I guess. So you can squeeze the passengers a little bit, and then you'll open up some more boot space for, if you're going on a trip or something like that. You just won't have the leg room that you're used to.
So how much space do you think you can get out of it if you just bunch every seat up max with no passengers in them?
I'm not sure. I haven't measured it, but you could get a fair bit of space if you push them all up.
It's handy for those big shopping trips.
Yeah. Right? My wife does struggle a little bit with this boot lid. So it's not powered. So a lot of the competitors have powered tailgates now. This one's not. So it is big and heavy, and it's a square design as well. So it doesn't taper in at all. So it's a bit cumbersome. And if you reverse up against a wall, you're going to hit it, of course. So you've always got to either go in forwards or look to see what's behind you to see if you can actually open that tailgate. So probably not the best design. But it does keep you sheltered from the rain, I guess, if it's coming down and you're loading some stuff up in the boot.
How about you show us the engine and talk us through what you think just about performance and everything? Yeah,
sure. So there's only one engine option to choose from. So it's the same engine you'll find in the Prado and the Land Cruiser. So it's a 2.8 litre turbo diesel. And it's the first diesel I've owned, so I wasn't really sure about it. I'm used to, a nice smooth petrol engine. So it does have that characteristic, diesel clatter that you get, and you do hear that, in the cabin under throttle. So it does sound a bit like a light truck in that respect. But, when you're cruising, it's pretty quiet. So it's pretty smooth, and it's got enough power to move it around. It's a big, heavy car. So I don't think a petrol would be an option really for it. We had a Toyota Kaluga before this with a big capacity V6, and it was using about 14 litres per 100. And I think if you put that into here, you'd be looking at 16, 17, 18 litres per 100. It would just get too expensive. So this diesel does bring it down to around just under 12 on average for us over the last year and 10,000 kilometres. I think, they're quoting around 10 for official figures, so we never reached that. But, we'll settle on the 12. It would be nice to have a hybrid option. And I know some of the overseas models, people movers from Toyota do have that, but they haven't brought it over to Australia just yet. So this is the only choice. In terms of the gearbox, so it's a 6-speed automatic standard torque converter setup, driving the rear wheels, so the same as you'll find in the Hiace, which is the work fan alternative. It's okay, it seems to shift pretty well most of the time. I do find first thing in the morning when it's a bit cooler that a couple of the shifts are a little bit rough, and I'm not a huge fan of the downshift you get when you're going down a hill. So I guess that's using the engine to do some of the braking, but it does sort of intrude on the passengers in the cabin when it's downshifting, quite aggressively. And then when it shifts up again as you come out of the that downhill stretch, again, it can kind of jerk you back into the taller gear. So the main thing for us really is having the 4 kids is we needed 6 good sized seats that could accommodate car seats as well. So you can see in the back there we've got, you know, the two younger ones in the second row, then the 2 older ones in booster seats in the third row. It is also nice to have the extra seats in the 4th row in case we need to take anybody else. So that was the main prerequisite. The seats are pretty flash, more so than we need, I think, for having, you know, young boys. It would be nice to have a more, you know, bare bones option. A bench seat across there would be good, just in a cloth fabric, because, you know, these recline and all that sort of thing, but you don't use it in day-to-day practice. You know. For us, the layout of 4 rows and 2 in each row has its pros and cons. The main pros being that the kids can, you know, they can jump in at a school pickup or wherever you are. They can jump in around the back of that second row, or they can come in here and then walk down the centre aisle. So there's no need to, you know, do any folding or sliding of seats like you have to do in a lot of the 7, 8 seat SUVs. So that was a good thing to have. The main disadvantage, of course, is it eats into your cargo space. So ultimately it would be nice to have the option of having 3 in a row and being able to take out that centre one, but not an option from Toyota at the moment. So we had to go with this one. In terms of, you know, the infotainment system, it's got everything there you need, essentially. It would be nice if the screen was a little bit bigger. Most cars these days are packing bigger screens, but it's big enough that you can make everything out and, you know, and touch everything with your fingers and not make errors there. The sat-nav has led us on wild goose chases a couple of times, so Toyota could improve upon that, but, you know, you can hook up your phone with the Android or Apple CarPlay instead and use the sat-nav from there.
How about your aircon, your ventilation, all that? Does it keep up in the Australian summer? Yeah,
the aircon works great. So the kids can control theirs independently from up here, and then there's vents that run right down the length of the car. So, you know, we can adjust that as we need, and it certainly keeps the kids cool, which is important because in this car you can only open the front windows. You can't open any of those rear ones. I guess that's coming from a trade car, you know, you don't have to do that. So they're fixed, those windows.
And just in terms of safety features before we wrap it up, how does it go?
Yeah, well, I think it's got all the safety features expected of a car to get 5 stars from ANCAP these days. So airbags are everywhere, really. And it's got the auto emergency braking, and it's got I forgot what you call it now, but when the car steers you back in, if you're veering out of your lane.
Lane keep or something?
Yeah, lane departure control, whatever they choose to call it these days. We find that a bit annoying, so we tend to turn that off before we go for a drive, because, you know, you don't always want to be yanked back into your lane when you're driving around the city. I think on the highway that would be a useful feature, but you know, we turn it off most of the time. And
it's got speed sign recognition as well?
Yeah, that's a good point. It does. So that's part of the Safety Sense suite from Toyota. So it does read the safety or the speed signs and reflects them up on your dash, and it will tell you off if you're speeding as well.
Does it always get the signs right? Or I know sometimes on the motorway, for example, on an off-ramp, if the sign is a bit close?
Yeah, so it's pretty good. But again, not 100%. You certainly can't rely on it. You still need to be checking your road signs. But if you're not sure what the speed is, sometimes it has captured it for you, and you can double check down there. It only works on the red and white ones. And it doesn't work on some of the different colour ones, you know, the yellow ones and that sort of thing. And if you're driving through a school zone, it'll pick up the 40, but it doesn't know the school timing. So it'll tell you to slow down, you know, on a weekend when you don't have to. So,
in terms of parking, does the car help you out a bit there?
Yeah, it certainly does. So being such a big car, you do want to have that as an option. So it has the 360-degree cameras, which I think standard on the VX don't come on the standard model. And that certainly helps out a lot when you're trying to maneuver such a big car into a smallish car space. It does make life a lot easier. So the 360 cameras and also the reverse sensors and the front sensors as well come in handy.
Can you tell us a little bit about servicing and warranty? Have you had any warranty issues and such?
Yeah, okay. So the servicing arrangement, it's 6 monthly with the turbo diesel, and there's a capped price servicing on offer from Toyota. So I think we paid $245 every 6 months, and that's a flat rate for the first 3 years, I think. And then after that, it goes up to, and I'm not too sure what, but depending on what needs to be maintained at the time, I guess.
And that's in Australian dollars? That's in
Australian dollars, yes. So I mentioned it has a 5-year warranty. We have taken it back for one little issue with the interior. So the plastic capping over one of the seat belts in one of the passenger seats had come off. So that exposed the belt assembly, which wasn't ideal. It sort of popped off the first day we got it. So Toyota had to order in that part from interstate. It did take a couple of weeks to get here, but they did book us in and sort it out for us. So that's the only issue we've come across at this stage. Well, no, there was one other potential issue with the auto emergency braking system. So that's flashed on a couple of times on its own for no specific reason. It's meant to flash on if the car in front of you suddenly stops, or a kangaroo jumps across the road or something like that. But it's just flashed for no apparent reason or twice when I've been driving it. So I flagged that with Toyota, and they did their diagnostics and just came back and said that there was no real issue. But it is a little disconcerting that that's happened, because you do want it to work when you need it. So I'll keep an eye on it.
That's right. Okay, well, so overall for your use, 4 kids and needing to take him around everywhere.
Yep.
How would you rate the car out of 10?
Yeah, okay. Well, I think overall, it's a good car for us. Probably a 7 or so. The seating, of course, has its pros and cons. It would be nice to have the option of having a 3-seat bench across those middle rows, rather than the 4x2 arrangement. But we do get by. As an 8-seat option, if you had an 8-person family, you're probably going to have to look elsewhere, because you don't have a boot then. But up to 7, it's a good choice. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in for another installment of Owner Drive. If you're in the market for a Toyota Granvia, I hope you found this helpful. As I said before, we're most interested to hear from the owners of the actual cars, because we believe that they offer the best insight. So if you found this useful, please hit the like button and subscribe to see the next installment. Thanks very much.